So, most professional tournaments, they limit the colors that players can play with, right? So more often than not, it's red versus blue, or green versus red, or green versus blue, right? Most of the time, those are the colors that we see, because it creates contrast and it's easy to follow along with the game. Now, apparently, in this particular match of Zerg versus Terran, between two top-level contenders, we have both of them picking the pink colors. Which is nice for a bit of change, but it's going to be a little difficult for me to follow along with. Because if you look at that minimap, for example, right? I mean, you see that nice little pinkish square. Imagine this at like the 7-minute mark. It could be a medevac, or it could be an overlord, or literally anything else. So if I end up missing a certain drop or something along those lines, I mean, I already do that. I feel like it's going to be worse in this particular video. But regardless, spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Pillars of Gold, playing with the light pink Terran SCVs, the baby pink colors, the Flamingo Space Construction Vehicles. SCV is an abbreviation. There you go, there's your trivia for the day. From France, we're looking inside of the main base of Clem. His opponent, picking the brighter color. I would call this like a hot pink, like a bubblegum pink. Is that even a color? I'm not entirely sure. The cupcake-colored Zerg drones. From Finland, we have one of the highest-ranked Zerg players in the world. The most dominant SC2 player of, well, literally ever, I would say, right? I mean, there's an argument to be made. I can make a dedicated video about that. I would actually say that this man is the GOAT right now in StarCraft 2, the greatest of all time. And while he's been struggling a little bit more in 2020, he's still ridiculously good. We are, of course, looking inside of the main base of Serral. Now, Serral decided to go for a quick spawning pool over here, so this is a little bit more of a cheeky opener, especially because it looks like the Terran player has decided to skip that SCV scout. I mean, this could be an SCV. This could... Nope, it's not. I mean, I know the colors are slightly different on the minimap, but at a first glance, it's going to be hard to say which unit actually belongs to who. Regardless, though, while we all know at this point that Serral's real good, right, and whether or not he's the GOAT, it doesn't really matter. He's ridiculously good. I still feel like a lot of people are not valuing Clem nearly as highly as he deserves. So, I would actually say that on a good day, Clem is the highest ranked Terran player outside of South Korea. I would go that far. Especially over the last month or two, he has been so good when it comes to microing his units. And while he's maybe not as stable as, say, for example, like a Special, or say, for example, a... I don't know, like a Euthermal or something along those lines. There's like a Hero Marine. There's a bunch of really good Terran players outside of Korea. He really has been showcasing some ridiculous unit control. And I'm excited to see what he can bring right now against Serral. Because, I mean, I think in a lot of people's minds, he's still kind of a relatively unknown player. Like, everyone knows he's good, but I don't really know. I don't really know exactly how highly everyone values him. I really do think he's one of the very best. And I'm excited to see where this is going to go throughout the year. Because I would not be surprised if this man is actually going to be like, you know, the next generation. I don't even know if we call it a generation, but I wouldn't be surprised if this man is going to be absolutely top-notch. I mean, I've mentioned it many times in the past. He's only 18 years old. He's very young. He became a pro gamer already a couple of years, but now I don't know how that Reaper actually stays alive here. That's a little bit odd. I guess that Serral really didn't want it. Yeah, he wanted to go after the SCVs, so getting one of those... Oh my god! This is not very descriptive at all either! Anyways, getting one of those bad boys is nice, is what I was gonna say. The one with the brighter pink colors ended up killing one worker, for those of you unfamiliar. There you go, the Zerg ended up killing one of those SCVs. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so I've said it many times, like, Clem, he's still a very young guy, and he's getting better. He's improving steadily. And while Raynor obviously made a splash at the same age as well, I wouldn't be surprised if Clem is gonna be able to overtake him as well. We'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, I'm just saying it right now. I'm just planting the seeds, right? If I end up being right, I'm gonna sound so smart, and you guys are all gonna, like, smash that subscribe button and, you know, all of that right away. Anyways, here we go. Scout into the main base. It will reveal what the Terran player is going for, so that the Zerg is fully aware. Now already, double Evo Chamber is coming up, and I like this choice by Serral a lot, because this is indeed a very, very quick 3rd CC opener. So Clem decided to go for the 3rd command center before going for the, what's it called, the starport. This is a little bit risky if you end up going up against someone who's going for a roach push. And recently, in a lot of the Zerg versus Terrans, I have seen Serral go for roach pushes. So a little bit of a gamble there by Clem, but it looks like it's gonna work out for him just fine. The only downside right now for Clem here is that while he does have a very, very quick eco, His upgrades are going to be significantly later. So Serral right here, rather than going for a quick lair into Mutas or quick baneling speed or something along those lines, he's cutting all those corners. He's not really playing this super safely at all because he knows that he doesn't really need to, right? He knows that he's not going to go up against a super quick Banshee or something along those lines. So he's prioritizing upgrades, and that really allows you so much value here as this game progresses. Now, he will need to start up a lair here shortly. Already has a Spore Crawler out over here at the third base. Probably has one inside of the main base too. And this is going to make everything quite a bit easier right here for the finisher. It will be a bio follow-up here for Clem. So 30cc is finally going to float on over towards the third base. He's going to be able to add on that additional barracks production right now too. You can see the big switcheroo inside of the main base happening while the Hellions are roaming the map trying to slow down that creep spread. And the creep spread obviously is one of those things that these top-level Zerg players are ridiculously good at. I mean, if you ask, like, what's the difference between a 7.4k Zerg player, right, which is what Serral's playing at right now, and like a, I don't know, a 6.5k Zerg player, right, which doesn't seem like a big difference because you will know the names of those 6.4k players as well. Oh my god, he's actually setting up a big wraparound. Ugh, not gonna get it, is he? Nah, I don't think so. Nah, the Reaper actually, man, from earlier, super helpful there. Nice attempt there by Serral. Anyways, I would say creep spread is one of those things. Like, creep spread just goes across the map so rapidly. And you can see even Serral, despite how good he is, he's not doing it perfectly. Like, being perfect with the creep spread, it's extremely difficult. You can't really critique someone that hard or that easily over it either. But I think that's going to be one of the things that will really set Zerg players apart over the course of the next couple of years. Because being perfect with that, it allows you to just get so much spread out all over the map. Now, Clem can go into a timing push here relatively easily. He adds on additional barracks right now as well before the fourth CC. I like that. +2/+2, though, is already coming up here for Serral, as 1-1 is about, I would say, like 60 to 70% or so of the way done here for Clem. So upgrades certainly add an advantage right now for Serral. So Serral can go into like a very quick Hive here if he wants to. He can also add on a Spire or a Hydra Den. Yeah, it's going to be a Hydra Den here for him. Having some anti-air is very helpful. But here we go. Here's where that Terran harassment will probably start off. Now, I say that, and immediately a bunch of Zerglings decide to attempt to run by over at the third, but that's where those flame buggies, those fire cars are at, the fire trucks. Actually, they're the opposite of fire trucks. They have fire. They're not supposed to put out fire. Anyways, this is going to be the moment at least where Terran player can start putting on a little bit more pressure a little bit easier. Because Zerg doesn't really have any anti-air, yeah. Pickups over here are really nice. And this is where I've been really enjoying watching Clem play, man. You can see his macro, right? Look at this. He's actually 20 supply up right now, and nothing has actually happened. I mean, it kind of naturally happens with the way that Zerg progresses, obviously, but I mean, 20 supply does feel like a lot. I don't really know exactly if Serral has dropped the ball here when it comes to macro. I haven't really been paying attention at that. I highly doubt it. I mean, Serral doesn't really do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to explode here in supply very shortly, now that he's finished up his economy for the most part. But you can see that Clem is perfectly capable of going toe-to-toe right now with Serral in this particular match so far. 1-1 is done. Centrifugal hooks is done as well. That's the roly-poly upgrade for the banelings. So they're going to be able to connect against these Terran units much, much easier on creep. Now, keeping those Hellions alive from earlier, super helpful, because right now they're going to help out when it comes to roasting a bunch of these Zerg drones. Now, watch the splits here. Couple of banelings coming in from the back as well. Okay, well, I told you to watch the splits. The splits were actually really good. Oh my god, he actually still... Okay. Well, hey, my statement still stands. I was going to say, I think that Terran army is going to be smashed, but apparently he actually still keeps a bunch of those units alive. These traits are awful, by the way, for Zerg, right? Look at the amount of resources here lost. The creep spread was out there, so he needed to fight before the creep would completely dissipate. He's trying desperately right now to put down some of that creep once again. A couple of Widow Mines have joined the fray, and look at that Terran macro actually coming in, man. There's a massive line of Terran units right now coming up. This is where that run by over to the third base would have been far more useful, but Serral doesn't have the units right now to spread them out. Still, though, the finisher is extremely good when it comes to playing defensively and very patiently here as well. Here comes the swarm once more. Spreads around these Zerg units absolutely wonderfully. Detonates most of those Widow Mines without taking a lot of damage. And he takes out the siege tanks too. Additional Banelings were produced, or at least like one Baneling was produced. Right now, that creates a very awkward scenario here for the Zerg player. He's desperately trying to get more and more reinforcements in here. He needs to push this Terran army back. He hasn't really taken any economical damage here, and while the creep spread is kind of limited, if he can push this army back, which I think he just did, this is very salvageable. He actually just randomly made a 5th base during all of that. That seems very greedy to me, but... I mean, I guess Serral felt confident he was going to be able to defend that just fine. Alright, nice push there by Clem. Supply counts right now are even. The creep spread will have to be re-established over in this location on the map. But obviously Clem, he can continue pushing. So +2/+2 is right now finishing up. This is most of the time the moment where Terran players decide to get really aggressive. Most of the time though, if you skip that early game pressure, or I guess like the 1-1 pressure that we just looked at, they will be maxed out at this point. So Clem, I mean, he's at 156 supply there, which is a very healthy amount as well. But he isn't quite maxed out, so he doesn't really need to go all too deep. Alright, so apparently this is the moment where Serral feels confident to finish up droning. He's going to go up to 85 drones here, which is a very, very healthy amount. And he's going to be able to, get himself a very large amount of those Zerg units out. 5th command center coming up. While this was all going on, of course, these players are very good at multitasking. The 4th base was established. There is a planetary fortress. And the nice thing is, right, when you slow down Zerg like that, Zerg can't really go for like a big bailing run by into that planetary right now because they just don't have the bank. You really... Oh my god, where are you gonna go? Oh my god, it's a trap! Oh, good escape there nonetheless. Could have lost all of these. But yeah, at this point, I mean, Serral needs to have like, I would say like 2k, 3k-ish on both resources in the bank before he can start blowing up planetary fortresses. And since he's not even maxed out right now, that option is not available for him. Also, because he was under so much pressure, and this is actually huge to point out too, he has delayed his hive a lot. So Terran is going into 3-3 upgrades straight up. They only need an armory to go into 2-2 and then into 3-3 as well. Zerg needs a hive and an infestation pit, right? So Serral didn't really have the money there to go into an infestation pit at his preferred time. So he's actually in a bit of an awkward spot right now where the upgrades are going to be in favor here of the Terran player, and especially those bio units, they benefit from it a lot. Still though, the Terran player is going very deep onto the creep, and this is where the Zerg player apparently springs the trap. He's collapsing on top of all of this Terran army, still engaging off creep. It's not really what you want to do, man. Beautiful control once again by Clem, allowing the Zerg player to come really, really far and almost inviting him to come off creep. A couple of the Marauders are now also joining in. Marauders are fantastic when it comes to soaking up those Baneling hits. Usually you want to have them in the front of your army so they can hopefully, you know, take some of those Banelings to the face. Serral, though, pushes back the Terran force for now, and I think he's going to be okay, yeah. Bottom right-hand corner, in the meantime. I mean, this is what I was talking about, right? This little pink dot on a pink minimap, a little difficult to see, but he has indeed cleaned up some of the creep over here. I don't know if he actually forced the council on maybe a hatchery that was also previously in that location. Couple of links coming in for the counterattack, so this is nice. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but even just getting 4 or 5 SCVs here is helpful. It alleviates some of the pressure because now it forces Clem to deal with that, right? There's a Zergling burrowed right next to where this base would go. Now notice, by the way, how the... Like, this is still a tense situation. You notice how the Terran army is still out here on the map? This is a bit of a risky move. I don't advise you to do this if you're a ladder player because you need to be, like, so confident in your micro. Clem, though, just simply sets up a shop right outside of the Zerg's, I guess, creep line? Can we call it creep line? Is that a thing? Looks like the base in the top left-hand corner will eventually be able to land. Serral coming up with a big group of Zerglings. Does he have +3 already coming up? He hasn't. And he actually, does burrow a whole lot of links there, which is nice. I don't think the Terran player actually noticed that. He's actually not started up Adrenal Glands or +3 melee, which is huge. He actually is prioritizing +1 missile, which once again is an indication to me that he is running out of resources, right? He's not feeling too confident that he can actually hold on here for the time being. Okay, now finally this Terran army is being pushed back. The Widow Mines beautifully detonated right there as well. So Clem is gonna be pushed away from those Zerg bases. And we should see some of that creep spreading in that direction almost immediately. Links are still burrowed over here, over at the 3rd base of the Terran player. They'll probably unburrow here in a little bit. This is the first time, though, that Serral is really engaging deep onto the creep, or off the creep, rather. That's the exact opposite of what I was trying to say. Still, the spread here has been absolutely phenomenal, man. Clem is out-microing Serral here. Despite the fact that a lot of people think that this Zerg army is extremely difficult to beat, then I would agree. He's showing us how it can be done. I mean, this game obviously is by no means over. It's very easy to make one little misstep and then accidentally take a couple Banelings into your Marine clump, and then you lose the game because the Zerg is just going to keep counterattacking. But it certainly is doable to take very efficient trades. Once again, man, the splits have been phenomenal. Parasitic Bomb right now used on a Medivac. Great splits on that one as well. Clem will only end up losing, well, actually, none of those bad boys. Reinforcing Terran units are coming up as well. And Serral's once again pushed back. That's so insane, man. So, like, Clem is actually outplaying Serral here. That doesn't happen too often. I don't know if I've ever said those words. X is playing or outplaying Serral. Have I ever said those words? It doesn't happen, man. This is nuts. So, the Zerglings are still burrowed over there. You can see that Serral is under so much pressure that he's now actually even giving up this base, and it seems like he's forgotten about the links that are burrowed in that direction. While this was all going on, though, I mean, the crew spread over here is gone. This base will be killed. Serral has double expanded towards the bottom right-hand corner. Now, that looks good for about the next 30 seconds. This location over here is so easily accessible for the Terran. Plus, this now allows the Terran player to take the top left-hand corner, right? So this planetary fortress, I mean, you're going to be able to fall back super easily. Looks like a couple of these links did unburrow eventually. They killed a couple of those SCVs too. Oh my god. Oh, he's just right-clicking the base there for a little bit. Not going to happen. Not going to be enough just yet, but I mean, this Zerg player is being run around like a fool right now. Absolutely phenomenal play right here by the Frenchman. Terran player, though, while he could have actually given up this position and move on over to start aggressing the bottom right-hand corner. Aggressing? Is that even a word? I don't know. He could have moved over in that direction. He has decided to just continue pushing over here instead. Now, that blinding cloud is good. The abducts are good as well, but the Terran spread here has been absolutely phenomenal. Serral actually abducts a couple of those siege tanks, but he doesn't actually kill them. I mean, he doesn't have the army to go ahead and do so here. More tanks are shelling away from a distance as well. Looks like the Zerg is going to be able to push some of this back. Once the 333 upgrades are done, which is going to finish up here for Serral eventually, then all of a sudden this is going to look way better. So one of the reasons why this Terran army is so successful right now is because of those upgrades, right? At this point, though, I mean, you can see the upgrades are starting to catch up. Still, I'm liking this position here for Clem a ton. He took the entire, well, I guess, top section of the map, right? Like, he took all of the bases that are at his disposal. Zerg has not been able to really do any counterattack aggression. I mean, yeah, 9 SCVs, but 9 SCVs at the 15-minute mark is not really the same as 9 SCVs at the 5-minute mark, right? Like, that makes a very, very significant difference. He can just make one cycle of those bad boys and they'll be, you know, they'll be back up. I'm actually starting to get a little bit worried here for Serral. I mean, this base, if this one falls, he doesn't have any backup. He's got the base in the bottom right-hand corner, which is nice. But he's running out of money. Terran basically has an infinite bank here. Additional orbital comments are coming up as well. This is the moment where Terran basically is going to switch on over from SCV production primarily into mule mining. So any SCVs that will go down from here are not going to be replaced, or likely won't be replaced, but he's going to be replacing them. Actually, we had a medevac drop over here. Impossible to see on the minimap, guys. I'm sorry. What was I saying? Right, so any SCVs he loses right now, this is so nasty. He's going to be replacing them with mules instead. Oh my god. So, let me go back just a little bit. While this little cheeky medevac is going around here in the main base of the Zerg, Zerg has now found out that the entire top left-hand section of the map has been taken. He's being dropped over in the bottom right-hand corner, and he now also sees this massive Terran army that's making an attack right now towards this final mining base. And upon seeing it, Serral realizes that he can't break it, and Clem actually outplayed Serral. It's not like one thing went terribly wrong for Serral in this game either. I would say that when he first went for... Clem, that is, when he first went for like his big push with 1-1, he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and since Zerg was constantly forced to fight off creep if they didn't want to lose a base, and since Clem played it so very patiently, Zerg kept on taking really, really resource inefficient trades, and eventually Clem just had way more stuff. Remember that big Zergling run by over towards the third base as well, where those Hellions were waiting? If that one would have come up while like that Hellbat push was going on with the 1-1 upgrades, it probably would have done way more damage, and it may have actually forced the Terran player to back off. But as it went, I mean, we saw it all. Clem certainly is capable of beating the best of the best. So here's the question: if you can beat the best of the best, Does that mean you are the best as well? Just a little bit of food for thought. We'll see where this man is going to go in the future. I'm excited though. I hope you are as well. If you did enjoy this video, hit that like button down below. If you didn't, feel free to hit that dislike button guilt-free. That's all good, man. But I'd be surprised if you made it until this point in the video if you didn't like it. So do me a favor. You could have already clicked it like a dozen times at this point. Hit that like button if you haven't already. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again tomorrow for another video.